This lesson is going to teach you how to round large numbers. We're going to be rounding numbers out to the hundred thousands place. So when we're rounding numbers, we want to picture a number line. So this problem says to round 227 to the nearest hundred. So you want to picture a number line. So here's our number line. Since it tells us we're rounding to the nearest hundred, we want to count by hundreds on our number line. So we have 100 here, 200, 300. Then we need to figure out where 227 would go. I know that it's more than 200 and it's less than 300, so 227 would be about right there. Let me make that black so you can see it. So that's 227. So we're rounding to the nearest hundred. So we're going to round to the number that it's closest to. So 227 is closest to 200. It's a lot further away from 300. So 227 would round to 200. Now, you're not always going to want to draw a number line whenever you're rounding numbers, so these are some steps that you can take whenever you're rounding different numbers so that you don't have to draw a number line every time. So we're going to practice these steps with 4 different numbers. So the first numbers we're going to be rounding to the nearest 1,000. So if we have the number 7,925, and we want to round it to the nearest 1,000. The first thing that we need to do is figure out which number is in the thousands place. So the 7 is in the thousands place, so I'm going to put a box around it. Then you want to look at the digit to the right of the place where you're rounding. So you're going to look, in this case, you're going to look in the hundreds place. If that number to the right is a 5 or higher, you're going to round up. So 9 is a 5 or higher, so we're going to round up. What that means is we need to go up to the next 1,000. So if we round 7,925 up, it's going to go to 8,000. So 7,925 is closer to 8,000 than it is to 7,000. So that's what it would round to. Okay, the next number we're going to look at is 43,490, and we're still rounding to the nearest thousands place. So the first thing we need to do is find the number in the thousands place. So that's our 3. Then we're going to look to the right, and there's a 4 next door. So if the number to the right of the place you're rounding to is less than 5, you're going to round down. So 4 is less than 5, so we're going to round down. And what that means is that we're not going to make this 3 a smaller number. It's just going to mean that it's going to stay a 3 instead of moving up to the next 1,000. So when you have a digit to the left of where you're rounding, that digit stays the same. So we're going to leave that 4, then we're going to leave the 3, and everything else becomes a 0. So what we're saying is 43,490 is closer to 43,000 than it is to 44,000. So 43,490 would round to 43,000. The steps for rounding stay the same no matter what place you're rounding to. So now we're going to practice rounding to the nearest 100,000, and we're going to practice with the number 849,314. So we're rounding to the nearest 100,000, so we need to find the digit that's in the 100,000s place. So that would be our 8. Next, we're going to look to the right of the 8. That's a 4, so 4 is less than 5. That means we're going to round down, so the 8's going to stay the same. When you're rounding, everything to the right of the place you're rounding to should be a 0. So 849,314 rounds to 800,000. Okay, let's do one more. 1,978,214. Okay, so our first step is to find the number in the hundred thousands place. So that's the 9. Make sure you really pay attention to those places. Then we're going to look to the right. That's a 7. It's more than 5, so that means we need to round up. But I notice that I have a 9 here. So if I go up, it would not make sense to put 10. I can't fit 10 in the hundred thousands place. So now I really need to think. This is when thinking about your number line is going to help you. If I'm counting by hundred thousands and I have 1,900,000, if I add 100,000 to that, the next number on my number line is going to be 2 million. So this number here that we're rounding would fall really close to 2 million. Whoops. Really close to 2 million on our number line. So when you have a 9 and you need to round that 9 up, you have to think about what would come next when you're counting. So here we're counting by hundred thousands. So 1,978,214 would round up to 2 million.